Hi, I'm Mr. Pete, and today we're going to do an experiment. We're going to actually make ice cream, but we're going to try to decide, should we just use ice or does adding salt to the ice um, make the ice colder so that our ice cream will freeze faster and firmer? So what I want you to do now is I want you to stop this, and I want you to uh, answer the first question in the worksheet. Once you've done that, then we'll come back. So I'm going to pause this for a moment. And now that we're back, so the first thing we do when we do any experiment, particularly when we're working with food, is we got to wash our hands. The reason we have to wash our hands is because there's all sorts of bacteria that's going to basically make us go or any of the fun things that come with not washing your hands. So, yeah. And so I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to actually show you how you really should be washing your hands. So, yeah. Um, but before we do that, what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause this again and uh, write down why you think washing hands when you're working with food is really important. Okay, so welcome back. Hi. Anyway, you're gonna just see my hands. So the first thing you want to do is you want to use a little bit of soap. So you basically want to put the soap on. I'm using dish soap, but you can use hand washing soap or bar soap or any of that. And you want to get the soap all the way down to the wrists. And you want to turn the faucet on, and you want to scrub. And you want to get in between your fingers because, well, when was the last time you washed between your fingers? You wash your hands, but you don't wash between your fingers. So you want to do that, and then you also want to take this. You maybe take a little bit more soap, and you want to take your fingernails because, uh, hey, unless you clean your fingernails every few minutes and whatever, you're going to end up with bacteria on the underneath the fingernails. And again, bacteria is not something that you want. And if you want to think about it, if you've ever cut up peppers or onions or garlic and whatever, you know that if you don't wash your hands afterwards, your hands are going to smell like garlic or onions or peppers. That's going to be not only smelling, but if you accidentally touch your face or your eyes, you're going to basically be uh, getting burn in your eyes. So that's the reason we want to wash our hands. So we keep our food reasonably clean. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to pause this and I want you to make a prediction. Will the ice be colder with regular ice or if you add salt? Okay, so I have this handy dandy tool and whatever. This is an electronic thermometer. So I can press the gun, the trigger, and it's going to give you a different temperature. So right now it's saying that the outside of this refrigerator is 75.2 degrees. Now we can also switch that to Celsius. So we go from 75.2, and it's actually 24.0 degrees Celsius. We're going to go back to Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit is measured on is a measurement that was designed to measure the human body, and Celsius was designed to measure the freezing point of water and the boiling point of water. Normally, water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. So, the problem is that we're going to make ice cream. And I got my half and half, which is half whipping cream and half milk. That's why they call it half and half. Yeah. Do you think I could be a spokesmodel for the handy dandy milk board? No? Okay. Yeah, I won't give up my day job. Anyway, but milk or half and half freezes around 28 degrees. Tell me what you think the salt would do to the water, I'm sorry, to the ice. Do you think the salt is gonna cool it down, or do you think it's gonna heat it up? So, this is all your thought. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just about what you think. When you're working on an experiment, whether it's in a science lab, whether it's online, or whether it's in your home and you're making a recipe is an experiment that involves food. Um, uh, Normally, there are recipes that involve other things. Like, for example, if you were in Snape's potions class in Harry Potter, you would have to have a recipe to basically make the potion of death or something like that. Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to have everything, sorry about that, you want to have everything lined up. You want to have all your ingredients out. I've got mine. I have my temperature gun. I have my measuring cup. I have my measuring spoons. I have my half and half. I have my salt that I need for the ice. And I have my Hershey syrup because, well, I like chocolate ice cream, but that's just me. And then I also have my sugar and I have a little bit of vanilla. If you want to follow along as we make this, you're welcome to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to measure out 4 cups of ice. I'm going to put the ice in 2 bags, 2 Ziploc bags. So I'm going to put 4 cups in the big bag. When we make our ice cream, I'm going to have a smaller bag that I'm going to put the half and half in, and the sugar and the syrup and the vanilla and any of the other ingredients that we might have. Word of warning, I had a student one time who mixed up sugar and salt, and he put the salt in here and the sugar in here. His yeah, he didn't like the taste of really salty ice cream. I was like, I really needed you to read the recipe. You want to make sure that when you're working on a recipe or an experiment, that you have the instructions, the recipe, the list of ingredients, how things are supposed to be put together. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the ice first. I'll come back after I've got the ice. Okay, so now I have my 2 bags full of ice. 4 cups of ice in each bag, and theoretically they both should measure about the same temperature. Oh, there we are. 28.2 on the outside. 28. And this one also says 28.2 on the outside. So, we want to get this colder. So, well, we want to see if it'll get colder. So what we need now, according to our recipe, is basically it's a half a cup of rock salt. Now this is sea salt or rock salt, and because ultimately that's where all the salt came from, was from oceans or the sea. And we basically want to be looking at larger pieces, so because this larger piece takes longer to dissolve, so as opposed to finer salt. Now you can use regular table salt that you find in your cupboard, but you might have to add more ice because it will may melt, the ice may melt quicker. I'm measuring out half a cup, come on, half a cup, come on, half a cup. Oh, yeah, poo poo. Alright, so we got a little bit right there, awesome. Okay, so we got this on here, and this is pretty close. Probably need a little bit more, don't I? Yeah, I probably do. So, who would have thought that adding salt would be so problematic? So, on this bag, the bag that's closest to you is going to be just regular ice. On this bag that's closest to me, I'm going to add um, the half cup of salt. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to just mix it up. We've added it. And now I'm going to take the temperature gun and I'm going to see what the temperature is. Okay, I measured it, and with the salt added, the salt mixture gets the salt in the ice gets colder. It goes from 28 down to 16 degrees Fahrenheit, which, if you want to know what that is in Celsius, that's minus 8.9. So 16 degrees Fahrenheit versus a 89. I'm sorry, 28. Sorry about that. I keep making all sorts of mistakes, but that's my whole life, is I make all sorts of mistakes. So we're going to now mix up our ingredients for our ice cream. So you want to take the smaller quart-sized bag. It says 2-quart boxes, supposedly 2 quarts. I think it's a quart, but whatever, it's close enough. What I have found is you actually want 2 if you have them. You want to, and the reason you want to is that you want to make sure that the stuff stays in here and doesn't get mixed in with the salt and ice. So you're gonna take 1 cup of half and half. So be right back, but you want to take the cup and you want to fill it up to the brim with half and half. And then you want to pour that in here. Now, if you don't have half and half, you can use milk. If you can't eat dairy, you can have what do they call it? You can have oat milk, almond milk, some other grain type of milk, soy milk. Any of those type of non-dairy milks work perfectly fine with this experiment. So, going to be right back. I'm going to fill up with the milk. So I'm standing further away from my computer because I don't want to spill any of this half and half on my computer, because then there will be crying and I will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. So anyway, I'm going to pour this in the bag and then I'll be back. And I was smart. I poured it over the sink so that if I spilled any, it would go in the sink. So now the next thing on my ingredient list is a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Now, you don't have to have vanilla. I have it, whatever, because that's what the recipe calls for. But if you don't want to have vanilla, or you don't have to have vanilla, but you still want the ice cream, and you got some other flavoring, by the way, honey works really good if you like honey, or you can add some other ingredients. Some people crush up cookies, any of those things that you'd be like, ooh, I wonder what Oreo cookie ice cream tastes like. Or I wonder what hot fudge tastes like, or peanuts, or whatever your flavor is. You want to try pretzels? You go for pretzels. Anyway, I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my vanilla in here, and one of the nice things about using these Ziploc bags is, especially if you're doing this alone, you don't have any brothers or sisters or anybody to help you and whatever, is you can just set this in the sink and they'll stay upright. You might have to adjust it a little bit and whatever, but they'll stay upright and won't spill. But don't do it too long because it ain't gonna stay long. Anyway, so you want to pour the vanilla in there. So now we have to get our sugar. We need 2 tablespoons of sugar. That was a half a teaspoon of vanilla, a half a cup of half and half, and now 2 tablespoons of sugar. Anyway, I'll be right back. Okay, I got my 1 tablespoon of sugar. Just 2 spoons of sugar help the medicine go. Oh, sorry. Anyway, and here's a second one. And you know what? Since I have a sweet tooth, I'm gonna do another half, even though probably shouldn't. And if anybody was watching me, like who was like, you can't be eating that much sugar. I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm at the front of the line as far as the sweet tooth goes. So anyway, so that's 2. and let's double check our recipe, and I'll be right back. And I can't believe I forgot the most important thing, chocolate syrup. Chocolate. Now, some people might say, oh, you just need a little bit and whatever. They would be wrong because you can never have enough chocolate. Yeah, when I was a kid, they used to put these in cans and you'd have to use a church key and that little pointed thing and whatever that's like on the end of a bottle opener. And yeah, and we'd have to open that up and uh, then pour it out and then scoop it out when we were done. So you see how everything is mixed up. We have our half and half. We have our chocolate. We also have our sugar at the bottom. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put this again. You zip this closed, and then you put this in again. Now what you want to do is you want to have most of the air out. So you're gonna basically go like this, and you're gonna fold it over, and then you're gonna zip it closed, and then you're gonna put it in the handy dandy. Just for fun, we should see what the temperature is of the ice. So it seemed to have gone up to around 25 degrees. So I'm going to put this back in again, and now we're gonna close this. And once you have it in there, then what you want to do is you want to close it, get most of the air out, and then do this back and forth. This will probably take about 5 minutes. So I'm going to actually come back, but if it starts to leak, you can put another Ziploc bag around it, so that it'll slow down the leaking. This isn't rocket science, and it's also kind of messy sometimes. So I'm going to pause this, and we'll be back in a moment. Just an FYI, this gets cold, so you probably want to have to hold it by the corners, or you may even have to use mittens because that's cold. So yeah, so you basically want to be doing that, and you want to do that until your ice cream is mushy. Some people like it. Some people like the ice cream firm, and other people like the ice cream kind of maltish and whatever. So I'm gonna come back in a few minutes after I've been making my ice cream colder. So one of the things, so my ice cream's starting to get mushy. One of the things, I had to add another Ziploc bag on the outside of it because it was leaking all over the place, and I was starting to get on my computer, and they would have been crying if I had to get a new computer because I made it all wet. But one of the things that's happening is that the heat from the half and half is going into the ice. All right, and I also discovered that you do have to have some air for the ice to move around the ice cream, and my hands are getting cold. Ooh, I'm doing this in September, and already I've got frozen hands, and I'm doing this right now. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm not even in Minnesota. Anyway, um, but the cold from the ice. Let's see what the temperature says on the on the ice. Hang on. So it says that we're at 23.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which, if you want to know what that's in Celsius, is minus 4.6. Either way, we know from it being in Minnesota, 23 degrees is still cold. Still cold. Anyway, so I'm going to pause this until I've got the ice cream all the way that I like it. And then I'll come back. While you are making your ice cream, I want you to think about reasons why the ice, when the salt was added, got colder. why do you think that that happened? So we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I personally like mushy ice cream. I'm not a fan of the firm stuff, the kind that you hurt your arm on, whatever. But this looks pretty good, and yeah, I'm gonna have some ice cream with this and whatever. Um, but that concludes our lab. So on those thoughts, the very last question will be, why do you think, this is about what you think, what you've begun to understand, why do you think that the heat from the ice cream moved to the ice to melt it? Why do you think that adding salt made the ice get uh, colder? So, there is no right or wrong answer. This is about us trying to follow the scientific method by making a question, having observations, and coming up with conclusions. And if this doesn't work, then maybe we need to try the other ice and whatever. But if you enjoyed this, I hope you enjoy your ice cream, and yeah, we'll see you in class. Bye now.